Okay, how's everybody doing? Coming up on our third consecutive week with no new One Piece chapters. Everybody all right? Everybody's okay? I feel like we need to do a check-in to just make sure everyone's still sane. I'm perfectly fine, right, Barry? Oh, Barry, you kidder. You're just a funny guy. Can you believe this son of a gun back here? Oh my god, Barry. Okay, tone it down a little bit. Tone it down a little bit. All right, let's not go crazy now. Okay, all right. But anyway, yeah, hope everybody is just as sane as I am right now. Today, continuing on our adventure with the wheel, we are talking about if Rebecca ate Ace's devil fruit. All right, you know what? Honestly, I saw that and I was like, this is what I was thinking of when I saw that comment. And the reason I put it on the wheel. Thank you, Trevor, for that, by the way. Because I'm like, it's like if you play D&D and, as the DM, you expect one thing to go a very particular way. Like, maybe there's some kind of item or something that, like, oh, this character's gonna get it. It's like, oh, there's this really cool wizard staff, and there's a wizard as one of the players, so obviously that character's gonna get the wizard staff, but then something happens and, like, a random NPC gets it or something. It's like, oh, I didn't expect that, but okay, we're just gonna roll with it. Or in like One Piece D&D Marines, where I'm pretty sure Rustage intended Taiga to get the cat zone, but then Yokon got it instead, and like Yokon's a cat girl now. It's like, okay, we're just rolling with that, right? So imagine at the end of the Corrida Colosseum Battle Royale, we had 5 people in the final round that could have consumed the Mera-Mera no Mi. You have the first contender, Mr. Store, or, Burgess. Jesus, Burgess. Ooh-wee! Which would have been pretty cool. I mean, he has the Riki Riki no Mi now, but back then he didn't. So he could have had, like, the super strength, and he could have had fire powers, because he was already super strong, right? So the fire powers would have been very devastating there, okay? Then you have Bartolomeo, who already had the barrier fruit, obviously, so he couldn't have eaten the Mera-Mera no Mi. Maybe he would have given it to, like, Gambia or somebody on his crew. Although, honestly, if he would have gotten the Mera-Mera no Mi, Bartolomeo would have just given it to Luffy. He's like, Mr. Luffy, I got your brother's devil fruit. Here you go. And Luffy would be extremely grateful for that. And he'd be like, oh my god, thank you, chicken head guy. And be like, oh, gee, shucks, yeah, thanks. I mean, Mr. Luffy thanked me, man. This is great. This is going to be the best day of my entire life right here. The events of Dressrosa, that was essentially Bartolomeo's best day ever. He got to hang out with his hero and go on an adventure with the Straw Hats. I mean, that was fantastic, right? So anyway, he would have given it to Luffy for sure. Then you have Lucy, who is Sabo. Then you have Rebecca, and then you have Diamante. And Diamante, actually, now that I think about it, Diamante even said, after Sabo had the fruit and ate it, he was like, we didn't intend to give that prize out to anyone. It's like, okay, well then why did you put it in ring then, dude? You had it. You had control over it. If you didn't intend to give it out to anybody, why did you put it in a chest, strap it to a fighting fish, and throw it into the arena? Hey, you know what? When it comes down to the honor of the competition and what the prizes are, we're going to be thorough with that. I mean, you could have obviously just made a fake Mera-Mera no Mi. Like, I have one right here. It's not super realistic, but at a distance, it doesn't even need to look realistic. You could have put it in the treasure chest, and they could have opened it and been like, wait a minute, this is fake. It's just like, they weren't planning on giving it out, so who cares? I mean, this one opens up. Maybe there could have been like a nesting doll inside of it or something. I don't know. I feel like somebody dropped the ball on that one. Could have been anybody. Could have been Doflamingo. But I'm going to say it was Diamante, because Diamante really was a top shelf piece of shit. Okay? Yeah, absolutely garbage human being. But anyway, so out of all of them, though, I would assume if it wasn't going to be Sabo, then Rebecca would be a good second. Like, anybody else, I mean, like, Burgess having the power would be cool from, like, a standpoint of, like, a reader being like, oh, no, Blackbeard has the power of the Mera-Mera no Mi now. Like, that would be cool. But, like, from the perspective of the characters, yeah, probably Rebecca getting it. I guess Bartolomeo getting it and then giving it to Luffy would be an option. But actually having the power, because if Bartolomeo gave it to Luffy, and if nobody on the crew wanted it, like if Zoro, Sanji, or Frankie didn't want the power, then I guess they would have just kept it on the Sunny and it wouldn't done anything, or Luffy would have given it off to Sabo anyway. It would have went from Bartolomeo to Luffy to Sabo anyway, so it would have just looped back around. Remember in the early part of Dressrosa when they found out about Devil Fruit reincarnation, and Luffy immediately was like, okay, well, I don't want just anybody to have Ace's fruit, and I can't eat it because I already have a devil fruit power. Hey, Frankie, do you want it? Like, he immediately offered his devil fruit power to Frankie. So that just gives you an idea of the camaraderie of the Straw Hats, and they really do view each other as like one big family. I'm sure if Sanji was standing next to him or Zoro was standing next to him, Luffy would have suggested the same thing. But I love that. And Frankie was like, well, I can already breathe fire, and I'd prefer to be able to swim, so I'm good. And Luffy's like, oh, okay then. Well, I'd like to at least get the fruit. You know, somebody should have it that, you know, carries on Ace's legacy. And there's no one better for that than Sabo. I mean, obviously Sabo needs to get the fruit, but once again, let's say Sabo was rolling really shitty that day on the D20s, you know? So they're in the arena. The fighting fish have the treasure chests on the back of them. I can't tell if there were multiple treasure chests and they were like some were fakes or if there was just one that had the treasure chest. I think they a lot of them did. And they had the 5 competitors in the ring and they were all going at it. And then at one point Sabo was like, okay, time to put an end to this competition. And he uses his haki, uses his dragon claw, and he's like, you know, it's like, everything has a core, even the ring. And so he launches his dragon's breath technique and just destroys the entire ring except for like one part right in the middle where he's standing on it. And so Burgess is like, whoa, this is crazy, ooh wee. And Bartolomeo's like, you idiot, I can't swim. And then Diamante even gets splashed with some water and he falls in and he's like, shit, you know. And so that is the opportunity for Sabo to jump up, grab the treasure chest on the back of the fighting fish, rip it open, grab the fruit. But right at that moment, let's say Sabo rolled a nat 1. He grabbed the fruit, and it's like, here it is, Ace, your power is now mine. Oh shit, no! He rolled a 1. It happens to the best of us, ladies and gentlemen. Happens to the best of us. He grabs, his hands are a little slippery. And oh no! And it falls. And it's like, no! And everybody in the crowd, the whole crowd in the Colosseum just goes quiet, like, and then it like bounces around on the rocks and the various wreckage of the ring, and like another fighting fish like knocks it over, and it's like, oh, who's gonna get the, you know, Gats is up there, and he's just like, oh, the Mera-Mera no Mi is now freed from the treasure chest, ladies and gentlemen. It's bouncing around the ring. Who's gonna get it? And then out of nowhere, Rebecca is just in the right place at the right time, and she rolls the nat 20, and it's just like, okay. And Rebecca has it. But like, so next question is, would Rebecca immediately eat the Mera-Mera no Mi? Like, okay, she has it, you know, and she was in the competition. I mean, she was kind of forced to be in the competition. She was forced to be a gladiator in general. She did not want to be in that lifestyle. But in that situation, I mean, you got Burgess coming at you. You got Diamante that's just like, give it to me. And so, you know, in that situation, Sabo might just be like, eat the fruit. Just eat it. Just eat the power and get it. I don't care. It's better than Burgess getting it. It's certainly better than Diamante. Doflamingo's crew cannot have this power, okay? They were dumbasses. They had any opportunity to eat the power. I guess Diamante couldn't have eaten it either. He has the flag fruit. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, they would have given it to somebody else in the crew, in the echelon somewhere, right? And they could have done that at any time. But they chose not to because they were going to use it to, like, lure everybody out, right? So, at that situation, I think Rebecca really has no option but to eat the fruit right there, because if Burgess shows up, he's just like, oh, he just, like, you know, crushes her or something. He's gonna get the fruit and he can eat it immediately. So, you know, so in that situation, I think Rebecca does eat the Mera-Mera no Mi, and then she gains the power. You know what this also reminds me of? Did you ever see that episode of Ben 10 where they do like that what if scenario of what if Gwen had the power of the Omnitrix instead of Ben? And I always thought that was such a cool idea watching that episode, because I'm like, oh wow, I didn't even consider that possibility, you know. And obviously Ben is Ben 10. He's supposed to have the power of the Omnitrix, but like Gwen getting it, it just leads to a bunch of other scenarios, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. So Sabo falls in the water or something, he gets out and he's just like, oh, okay, I mean, I wanted the power. I'm honestly a little disappointed in that and everything, but you know what? Sure, Rebecca has it now. Okay, so Rebecca has the Mera-Mera no Mi, and it might be a flip of what actually happened, you know, where instead of, you know, Sabo using the Hiken on the arena and everything and then getting the hell out of there, Rebecca might just be able to use the power herself now, you know, and so she's not going to be good at it, but Sabo wasn't good at it at first either. He was like, whoa, fire, it actually came out. Okay, that's weird. Okay, hey, it's not hot though, but it's kind of hot, but it's not hot. Weird. Anyway, he just uses the power, right? So maybe Sabo could like shout from the sidelines or something, just like, Rebecca, use the fire fist. I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not that fire fist, the other fire fist. It's like, okay. So she uses the power, and maybe they manage to get out of the arena and everything like that. And Bartolomeo and Burgess and Diamante, they're all washed away and all that kind of shit, right? So Rebecca with the Mera-Mera no Mi. The first thing I thought of, get Rebecca a badass fire sword, because swords are cool. She has a sword, and what's even better, a fire sword. Fire swords will never not be cool. Sabo has a pipe, so he made a fire pipe. Whoever heard of a pipe smoking or a pipe using for fire? That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? I also love the idea that Sabo, ever since he was a little kid, decided on his combat. He's like, I'm going to use a pipe. And even when he gets older, it doesn't like he switch it out for like a bow staff or something. He still just uses a pipe. It's like, okay. So Rebecca knows how to use a sword. Now, her fighting style is not the kind of like, berserker rush in and, attack somebody. Her technique is a lot more about finesse and like knocking an opponent off their feet and then knocking them down and like out of the arena, okay? Because she has trained in swordsmanship and being a gladiatorial fighter for years, okay? And she was trained by, the Tin Soldier, who was Kiros, who was her dad, so obviously she knows a little thing or two about fighting. We even actually just saw her in one of the most recent chapters when Vegapunk's message was being broadcast to the world. We see them in Dressrosa still training, and I really like that, because it was like, okay, if Rebecca doesn't need to be a gladiator anymore, is she just gonna go and just be like nobility, and just wear the fancy dresses, and is that gonna be her lifestyle from now on? Because she didn't really seem happy with that, I think she's more about like the excitement and the adventure of it all, and she's already trained to be a warrior, so I don't think that Rebecca would just give that up, and we see that she hasn't. We see even now she's in the guardhouse, not the guardhouse, but like the courtyard of the castle with Kiros, training in swordsmanship. So she's still keeping that up, okay? So get Rebecca a really cool fire sword, all right? Now, this adds a very different kind of paradigm going forward in the end game of Dressrosa, okay? So after the Colosseum and after everything is shifted around by Pika and then everybody's fighting everybody else, like how is this going down? So we have the fight between Rebecca and Diamante. Now, Kiros also gets involved, and Robin is there as well. But in this scenario, I think Rebecca would be able to fight alongside of her father, and it would be like father-daughter versus the murderer of their wife and mother, Scarlet, okay? So that would be really cool, because the way it goes down right now is like Rebecca gets into the flower fields, the sunflower fields, and then Diamante shows up, and like Robin shows up to like protect her with her Hana no Mi powers and everything like that. And the fight continues. Remember that scene where Diamante throws that confetti into the air and it turns into steel spiked balls and they all rain down, and Robin like picks up all the flowers to use as a shield, and she protects Rebecca. And then after the fight is over and everything, after Kiros wins, that is one of the most brutal finales. I really do hope Diamante's dead from that. I don't think he is. He's probably an impel down with the other commanders, the officers of the crew. But still, like, I'll tell you what, when Diamante fell backwards and like not even like he smacked his head like here or something like that. He hit Scarlet's grave like right here. Like right at the nape of his neck, right at like the top of the spinal cord. Diamante should be like a quadriplegic at least after that attack. Like, and he just punk and he's just down. All right. So that happened, and then Rebecca was there, and then Robin was like, go to your dad, and Rebecca's like, okay, and then she's like crying and she runs off, and then you just see Robin's back, and it just got shredded by confetti, because it was sunflowers as a shield are not very effective, so it just went right through, and Robin is like really maintaining her composure, but god, that must sting. Okay, but in this new scenario, dude, I think like I could see a scene where Rebecca goes up against Diamante, and it's just her and Diamante, like Robin's not there yet, Kiros isn't there yet, and it's just a moment where she's like, you killed my mother, prepare to die. And look, I understand the whole point of Rebecca's character in Dressrosa is that she does not want to fight. She was forced to be a gladiator. She doesn't want that lifestyle. Her grandfather was dethroned by Doflamingo, and the whole reason she has to become a gladiator is because of him and his machinations taking over the whole country. I get it. And then there's that triumphant moment when Kyros shows up at the flower field to confront Diamante and directly tells Rebecca, his daughter, you don't need to fight anymore. It's okay. I got this. I will fight Diamante. I will avenge Scarlet. You don't need to worry about fighting anymore. And then, Rebecca starts crying and she's like, okay, Dad, it's good. I'm fine. I don't have to fight anymore. And I understand all that. But you also have to understand in this version of events, Rebecca has a motherfucking fire sword. The idea is it's the final battle of Dressrosa, and they're eliminating the Doflamingo family. They're getting rid of them. After this battle, after this day, Rebecca does not need to fight anymore. She's good, all right? Her family will take over the nation again and will reign under peace and prosperity for 1,000 years or whatever the hell. But for this day, they fight. You could even have a whole thing with like, no, Rebecca, not revenge. Like, you're a kind-hearted person. You could even have a whole thing with that. But, fire sword. She's crying tears of anger. The tears are like sizzling off of her face. And she's just like enraged by this. And she's just letting the flames of the Mera-Mera just spread like crazy. So all the sunflowers around her are just burning up. And Diamante's up there just like, ha 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 ha, this is gonna be spicy. And he just starts up the fight. Now, Diamante though, even though Rebecca has a Logia and everything, she's not very well versed in it. And Diamante is a trained fighter, and he knows how to use his devil fruit a lot better. And it is a little interesting here. I mean, he knows hockey as well, so the intangibility. I mean, even if Rebecca could perfectly control that, like to perfectly go intangible or whatever, maybe Diamante might do a thing at first, because Diamante really likes to toy with his victims. Okay, I mean, just look at Scarlet, right? So the whole idea is he might not even use hockey at first. He might just be like, I can defeat Rebecca. She's just a child. She's just an angry child throwing a tantrum. I don't even need to use hockey to beat her. And there might be a moment where he underestimates her, even with the Mera-Mera, and Rebecca does manage to get like a flaming sword, like strike out on Diamante and like cuts him really bad. And he's like, oh, okay, screw this. And then he just goes full throttle with hockey and does manage to he's about to hit her, or he's about to strike her with something, and then like Rebecca realized like his sword's right here and just like, oh shit, I'm dead. And then that's when Robin shows up, or that's when Kyros shows up, and then like, oh, okay, now it's all right now, okay? So, but the exception here is, instead of Rebecca just being on the sidelines for most of the fight and Kyros kind of dealing with it and Robin having to like protect Rebecca, now it's like Rebecca can fight on her own. I mean, she had sword skills already. It's just Diamante has a devil fruit. He's really strong. But this kind of evens the field a little bit here, okay? She could maybe incorporate even her own fighting style into the Mera-Mera. So her thing is like dancing around the battlefield, having very light armor, and using her sword to like trip people up. Well, just imagine all of that, except with fire spewing everywhere, right? She can maybe take her sword and like, put her sword on the ground and it makes like a trail of flames or something, or she could like whip up like a fire wave or something at somebody, gets a Gatensho, but fire swords are so cool, all right? Ace had a knife. Did he ever use that knife in conjunction with the Mera-Mera? You could have had a fire knife, which is not as cool as a fire sword, but whatever. Okay, anyway, this is actually working out now, because yeah, Ace and the brotherly spirit gets passed down to Sabo. Yeah, just whatever. Rebecca has a fire sword, damn it. Okay, so that would be neat. And then you could have a moment where Kyros is there with Rebecca, and Kyros is like, Rebecca, get back. I'll take care of him. Don't worry about it. And maybe you have a moment where Rebecca looks down at her dad's leg and she just like, you know what? No, we're going to avenge Mom together. Let's do it. And then so Kyros is like, okay. and then they fight Diamante together. And it's such a cool scene there, okay? Where, I mean, I guess I don't know what Robin's doing in the background. Robin could do support while all this shit's going on. You know what I mean? So, she's like throwing certain things at Diamante Diamante or something, or maybe gives Rebecca support when she needs it. Maybe there's a scene where Diamante's about to knock Rebecca over the sunflower hill or something, and Diamante's like, yes, now fall to your death, and then Robin uses her hand to like knock Rebecca back up or something, and then she turns into fire in midair and then just brings down the sword, you know? We could do the same thing where Diamante falls backwards and conks his head off of Scarlet. No, I just thought of a better one. Diamante straight up dies in this scenario, but good, right? Okay. We have a combo attack where Kyros knocks Diamante into the air, and he's a flag man, so maybe he turns into a flag, and then Kyros is like, wait a minute, he's a flag, so he can float. So he knocks him into the air, and Diamante's in the air kind of floating around with his devil fruit bullshit, and he's like, ha ha ha, that didn't hurt me at all. I could fly in the air like a kite. And then Kyros is like, yeah, that was the plan. And then, you know, Robin gives Rebecca a boost, and she does a twirl through the air or something, and she's made of fire, and Diamante looks up, he's like, oh shit. And it's like a pincer attack in the air, and Rebecca's like, ah! She just brings down the sword, hits Diamante. Now, Diamante might have some defense, like he could take, he takes his cape, and he hardens it, because his cape is actually a sheet of steel. That's the whole point. He takes a sheet of steel and then uses his power to turn it into a flag, which makes it a cape. So in this scenario, he sees Rebecca with a flaming sword, just screaming, like tears steaming off of her face, ah! You know, bringing it down. And so Diamante takes out his steel sheet, hardens it up with hockey, and then the sword hits it, and it begins to crack, but Diamante doesn't get hurt by that necessarily. It's like, it's hot, and it's like burning him a little bit, but it's like, ah! But because he turned his sheet into steel, he's now falling way faster, and because Rebecca hit him, he's going down straight. He's like, that's not a big deal, I'll just hit the ground, and then Scarlet's grave is right beneath him, and he just lands, just gets impaled through the heart with Scarlet's grave, just gets pile-drived right into the damn thing, and just, damn, that's a badass family. And then Diamante just dies. And then Kyros and Rebecca. I mean, yeah, you could have a whole line of dialogue with like, you know, oh, you don't need to kill him, you know, it's your mom wouldn't want to that. Ah, screw it. All the crap that family's been through. Like, camera's losing focus. All the crap that family's been through. Kyros, Rebecca, and Scarlet combo attack kills Diamante outright. Like, right there, just impaled on the damn grave. No, it just, yeah, it's not even like Scarlet's grave had like a sharp point at the end. It was just like a blunt, like a 2x4 or some piece of wood just in the ground. But dude, doesn't matter. He's fallen hard enough. It just goes right through him. You know, that would be fantastic. Okay. So then after the events, what happens next? Oh, but wait, there's actually one more scene to cover with Rebecca before we get to that, because there's the scene after Luffy uses the Leo bazooka in Gear 4th, where that doesn't take down Doflamingo. Doflamingo still gets back up after that, and then Luffy's out of hockey, and he's like, shit, I need to wait for this to recharge. So the gladiators and Gots and everybody are helping him out, but then Viola shows up to confront Doflamingo after all the messed up shit that he did to her. And then Rebecca also shows up, and then Doflamingo uses the Parasito thread so that Rebecca is forced to fight her aunt. Yeah, that's the thing. People think Rebecca is the princess. She's not, though she could technically be. See, it depends on the line of succession, because King Riku Dole III was the king, and then he had two daughters, which were Scarlet was the eldest, and then Viola was the youngest. I don't think he had any sons. And then Scarlet had Rebecca, and then Scarlet died. So the question is, like, does the line of succession go like, okay, well, Scarlet was the next in line for the throne to be the queen, but then she died, so does it defer to her younger sister Viola, or does it defer to Rebecca, who is Scarlet's daughter? It depends on the line of succession and everything like that, but I've always interpreted like Viola is going to be the next queen of Dressrosa, and Rebecca, it might be later, but like not for right now. I don't get the impression that Rebecca is like a princess and she's going to be the queen someday, but that's just my interpretation of it. Anyway, that scene goes completely different now. I mean, the scene with Doflamingo and Viola stays relatively the same, but, you know, manipulating Rebecca to fight Viola and everything, that won't work. At least it shouldn't work, because Doflamingo uses his threads, but Rebecca's made of fire. So I guess you could argue, well, he could use hockey on the threads to still manipulate Rebecca. But you know what? I'm not going with that. I'm going with the idea that Doflamingo tries to use the threads, and then they just burn away when they access, Rebecca's fire form. It's like they just burn away immediately. And then Rebecca's like, yeah, that's not working on me now. Or maybe she's even surprised by it, like she thinks it's going to work. And then she's like, oh, wait, I'm made of fire. Ha ha ha, you can't do anything to me. And so then it's Viola and Rebecca fighting against Doflamingo until Luffy shows up. Okay? Which, Luffy is still the saving grace here. Luffy is still, like, there's no way even with the Mera-Mera no Mi, just having it, Rebecca is going to be able to beat Doflamingo. But it would be cool to have Rebecca and Viola fight together for a moment, and it could be a moment where, or you could reverse it. You could actually reverse it and have Doflamingo take control of Viola to fight Rebecca instead of the other way around. That could actually happen. So he eventually takes control of Viola and has her fight Rebecca, and Rebecca's like, I don't want to fight you, I don't want to burn you, and then Luffy shows up to, like, stop the attack or something like that. We could do basically the same kind of thing now that I think about it. And the scene with Burgess, like, because Burgess is there about to attack Luffy with the knife, and then Sabo shows up. I mean, you could still have Sabo showing up and stopping Burgess. Sabo is still fully capable of fighting and defeating Burgess, even without the Mera-Mera no Mi. He's a hockey expert. Burgess doesn't have a devil fruit. Sabo wouldn't in this scenario, so you could still have a scene there. Like, that still plays out pretty much the same. But anyway, Luffy eventually shows back up, fights Doflamingo, goes into gear fourth again, uses the King Kong gun, defeats Doflamingo, right? So then we have the latter scenes of the arc, and then most of it is still the same. Like, Rebecca and Kyros are reunited and everything like that, and they're happy and all that stuff, and they spend time together. But then you have Sabo there, who's like, huh, okay. And then Sabo and Koala and Hack all meet back up and everything, and they're just like, okay. And Koala's like, it sucks you didn't get your brother's devil fruit. And then maybe Sabo could have a moment where it's like, yeah, it does suck. But hey, at least I could still swim, so that is kind of a nice thing. And, but I could see, like, Sabo, like, the idea of Rebecca, the daughter of the princess of Dressrosa. She is nobility, a nation that was subjugated by Doflamingo. She was forced to fight in the gladiatorial arena for years and stuff like that. Her getting the power of the Mera-Mera no Mi actually does kind of fit when it comes to the revolutionaries' message. You know what I mean? Like, the flames of rebellion burn strong or something. So this is where I get to the idea of, like, what if Sabo and Koala, like, approach Rebecca and are like, do you want to join the Revolutionary Army? Because, like, your story and your message and the fact you have Ace's power, like, that would be pretty damn, like, that could inspire a lot of people, okay? And you wonder about this because, like, Rebecca, I mean, her dad is there. They just got reunited, but, like, why can't Kyros join too? Kyros and Rebecca being members of the Revolutionary Army? They could still be fairly relevant to the story. I think that would kind of work. I could understand, like, Rebecca going off on her own. Kyros would probably be like, I just got reunited with you. I don't want you to, like, leave again and have that, like, dangerous lifestyle. But, like, Kyros together, dude, Lindbergh could make Kyros a badass automail leg. Yeah! Sabo, though, infiltrating the Reverie, though, now that would be different. That would be different, but I don't think it would be that different. Like, I think Sabo could still infiltrate Castle Pangaea and everything like that with the help of the other revolutionary commanders. Like, they'll still get in. They'll still get in there. Rebecca, maybe she could be present too. Maybe her and Kyros could go to Marie-Joie as well. Like, they're there. Oh, maybe they might be able to do something with that. Like, maybe if they don't make it public knowledge that Rebecca joined the Revolutionary Army, maybe she could still go to Reverie and pretend to still be a noble and be like, oh, yes, like Viola's like, oh, yes, you will be my lady in waiting. And so she's like, oh, lovely. And so they go. And then it turns out, like, during Reverie, Rebecca turns into the Human Torch and just like, by the way, and just like, what? That would be the reveal. That would be the big reveal. You don't find out about it right away. Like, maybe the readers would, but, like, the world at large does not know that Rebecca has become a Revolutionary Army, like one of their top, like, officers or one of their strongest characters. And then at Reverie, that's when she makes the big reveal and everything. And so you have the same basic idea, except Rebecca is now like a badass and is like helping Sabo fight the Gorosei or something. Well, they're members of the royal family of Dressrosa. It's just like, dude, we're entering the final stages of this revolution anyway. You know, there are so many nations after the Reverie that are in open rebellion. The fact of whether or not Rebecca is present at the Reverie really doesn't change anything on the grand scheme of things. You know, Charlos is still a dick and attacks Shirahoshi. Mulesguard still gets involved. He's still executed. Like, all that stuff still happens whether or not Rebecca is at Reverie. You know what I mean? She really didn't do much at Reverie at all. So she joins the Revolutionary Army. The revolution's going to happen in a few months anyway. And the whole structure of the world is shifting anyway. So regardless, I don't think anybody's going to care. I mean, they'll care. Like, the people, the citizens of the One Piece world would care. They would be like, wow, you know, one of the royal family of Dressrosa joined the Revolutionary Army, and she has fire powers. She's like the Flame Empress or something like that, right? Kyros gets a cool automail prosthetic from Lindbergh, and he's back to fighting at full power, basically. Dude! Yeah, why not, right? Now, of course, this takes a lot of spotlight away from Sabo. Sabo doesn't become the Flame Emperor in this context or anything like that. But Sabo's still there. He can still do things, you know. He's still a fighter. He still has crazy powerful armament hockey with his Dragon Claw and everything. You know, this is just fun. This is why I picked this, because I just love fun headcanon videos where I just like take a direction, like, okay, it's improv. Rebecca eats the devil fruit of the Mera-Mera no Mi. You know, it's like improv. Like, give me a scenario. Like, Rebecca eats the Mera-Mera no Mi. All right, this is what happens. It's like, all right, you know, I just love this type of stuff, right? But yeah, it's getting a little bit more on the post 30-minute slot for the video, so I guess I'll end it here and we'll spin the wheel. But like, yeah, we just have a scene where maybe, yeah, Rebecca becomes the Flame Empress, and she helps Sabo fight against the Gorosei, and they still escape and everything like that. It's just that she's way more prominent in the story now. How Luffy, you know, the way Luffy would probably view this is basically like, hey, you know what? You have my brother's devil fruit power. You need to stop being such a crybaby. That would be the very direct way that Luffy would probably say it. Sabo would probably be not as, you know, he wouldn't be as mean about it, but Luffy would be like, okay, I guess it's better that you have my brother's power than, you know, Burgess or one of Doflamingo's crew. But just let you know, Ace wasn't a crybaby, so you better stop it. And Rebecca's like, okay, I'll stop. And just like, okay, and there you go. And that could be a fun little moment there. All right, well, anyway, that was the video. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks to Trevor for the suggestion. And now we spin the wheel anew. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have this wheel. Time to spin D wheel. Oh, man. What's it going to be this time? The Dalton video. This was the one that I had suggested to me a while ago before the wheel. Like, this wasn't one of the suggestions I got on the video, and then someone just said, Dalton video. And I'm like, you know what? Dalton video. Next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tekking, signing out.